about what a private cloud is. Is that Dave I just heard there? Okay. All right. So Dave Malcolm here, and Brian Wilson, if you guys could take a few minutes to comment on what a private cloud is, kind of set the stage and level set for the group here.
Sure. So typically when we talk about private cloud, we really like the National Institute of Science and Technology's definition for private clouds. And what we tell people is cloud computing is really not a product. Cloud computing is an outcome. And there's some key characteristics of cloud computing. And so there's 5 predominant ones that the NIST describes in their definition. One is on-demand self-service, which is very key. Broad network access is a second. Shared pool of IT resources. A rapid elasticity, and it's measured, so you could be billed or charged. And that would describe cloud computing in general, those characteristics. Private clouds are clouds that are operated solely for a single organization, and a private cloud is usually in a private network, and it can be either on a customer's location or managed by a third party. And so we would describe those characteristics as cloud. Brian, would you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the second part of the question, what if it's all hype or kind of if it's real, I think was kind of mixed in there a bit as well. And certainly in the industry and in the trade press, we've seen a lot of discussion around the cloud today, and there certainly is a lot of hype. In fact, we at Surgient, we've been doing this for a while. We've been delivering clouds for about 7 years, and we only recently started leveraging the term cloud. What we used to do in the past was talk about these benefits as they apply to IT organizations and talk about those with prospects. And then at the very end of that discussion, I'll say that we could choose to wrap these all up in the word cloud if you'd like. But from our standpoint, the cloud is very real. We've seen a number of very, very successful deployments, particularly in the private cloud space in the last couple of years. And so I'd say that there is some hype around cloud in general, but there's also a lot of real companies getting real results today with the technology that underlines the cloud.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to break in real quick here before our next question. Apologies, there's been a little, I think we figured out the technical difficulty is. There will be a full recording later if you guys want to catch the first few minutes that you may not have heard us saying. At this time, I'd like to check and see if Dave Bartoletti is available on the line.
I'm here.
Wonderful. All right, Dave, the reins are over to you to continue on our session.
Sure, and I heard that great introduction from both of you. Dave and Brian, thank you. And I think you've introduced a little bit of what I wanted to talk about, which is that Taneja customers tell us quite often what you just alluded to, which is private cloud anything more than a new marketing branding from the vendor community on what I already do in my IT environment today? And I think what we've found success with is trying to talk to clients about how they manage a shared infrastructure rather than necessarily using the cloud terminology. Because clouds are real and people are sharing today. So I think one of the myths that it helps us to bust when we talk about private cloud is that the benefits of a private cloud, the benefits of a shared elastic infrastructure are all theoretical today. And since you've been early pioneers in this space, I was wondering what kind of real-world benefits your clients are seeing from this. And how you help enterprises measure the benefits of an internal cloud deployment.
Sure, I'm glad to take that, Dave. What we've seen, so we talk about these 150 clouds that we've deployed, and I spent a little bit of time several months ago looking at kind of some average metrics across some of those key on-site deployments, and some of the things that we found were measurable 8 times reduction in the cost per VM deployment. And the way that we're able to do that is we're reducing the amount of staff, in many cases by a factor of 2, that's required to actually administrate the deployment, because we're doing that in automation as opposed to without automation. We've got a lot of manual work to actually do the deployment of resources. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that's happening is that we're radically increasing the speed at which we can reprovision environments. So this is preventing server sprawl, but it's also reducing the total amount of time that environments may be provisioned for a given use case. An example of that may be a tester that has to do, let's say, a significant amount of regression testing. So he normally would go to his IT team and say, I've got activities that span the next 6 months. I need an environment for 6 months to do testing. The reality is he probably has a week or 2 of testing, then a down week, then maybe 4 weeks of testing, then a down 2 weeks, then he's back up for another month. And with a true cloud deployment, he's able to automate the provision and deprovisioning of those systems and free up those resources so that other folks and other activities and other testers can use those elements of time, really effectively time sharing the underlying infrastructure that's in place. So that's what allows us to do very significant increased work, and what we saw was a measurable 4 times the number of VM deployments with half the staff. So that's how we kind of get to an 8x reduction in cost per VM deployment.